Good evening, everyone. It's good to be here at the close of a very beautiful fall day in New York. And I thought that tonight I would say a little about intimacy because, well, it's a buzzword we hear a lot in Zen, and it's been on my mind lately because I got a call, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago from my cousin Vicky in Montclair. And she told me that her brother, my older cousin Stan, had passed away. And this was not quite unexpected. He'd been ill for a number of years. He's about 8 years older than me, I guess. But then she asked something that, in a way, really captured Stan and also gave me pause. She said that the rabbi, has to say something during the funeral, and I was wondering if you could share with me any memories you have of Stan, so I could pass them along to the rabbi. Now, I didn't know Stan well at all, and I thought, wow, here's his sister who grew up with him and, has been in and out of his life, for all of his 78 years. And, she's asking me, what should I tell the rabbi? Share some memories that capture Stan. And I realized that this is really hard because Stan was, he was a very decent guy, a smart guy, but he was hard to be intimate with. And I realized that most of my conversations with him, spaced out on and off over many, many years, had been, mostly about the weather. He was into sports. He was an insurance executive when he was working and quite successful at it. And then in his spare time, he liked to play golf. And, he did a lot of good things. He helped take care of his mother, who lived to be over 100 years old. He was always there, but he was very hard to get to know beyond, hey, Stan, how are you? Fine, how are you? And so it made me think a lot about intimacy, about connection, and what allows us to connect and what can be an obstacle to connection. And it made me think back to incidents of intimacy in my own life, moments when I felt really connected. And one of them, maybe not too surprisingly, was at the end of my first session, my first week-long session, which was an absolutely brutalizing experience. And I swore if I got out of that session alive, I would never have anything to do with Zen ever again. And so I got out, and boy, did it feel wonderful to be out of session. It feels so good when you stop hitting your head against the brick wall. But anyway, I was waiting at the bus stop for the bus back to New York, and I saw a gum wrapper on the ground by the side of the road, and I just bent down and picked it up and put it in my pocket. And I went, yeah, wow, what the heck was that? I would never ordinarily do anything like that. What I would do is I'd say, oh, some jerk threw a gum wrapper in the road here. He shouldn't do that. But there was something about the experience of session, maybe just the sheer suffering of it, or maybe it was constantly letting thoughts go that made me respond from some place besides just my notion of the way things should be and who was a good person and who was a bad person. I being a good person, of course. And leaping clear of all that, I just picked up the gum wrapper and put it in my pocket. I thought, wow. And although I didn't think of it that way at the time, looking back, I think, oh, well, this was a little experience of intimacy. Nothing earth-shaking. No fireworks went off or anything like that, but I was there and I responded, and that was that, without going off into some story in my head about idiots who throw gum wrappers in the road. A little bit of intimacy. So again, I didn't think of it this way at the time, but looking back, it seems to me that a really big obstacle to intimacy is our tendency to mistake mental phenomena for something other than mental phenomena, and thus miss what's really going on right in front of our face. So, normally I would have gone off into some storyline about an idiot who throws a gum wrapper in the road and who I'm superior to. And instead of doing that, I just saw the gum wrapper and picked it up. Boom, boom, right there. Nothing was shaking. But to me, that was intimacy. Being present, seeing, responding appropriately. Of course, we're always in danger of, going off into the side of our minds that's always involved in good and bad, right and wrong. It should be this way and not that way. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what we let go of in zazen, right? When we do zazen, we notice we've gone off into a thought stream after a while, and we let it go. And we come back to this not very remarkable moment, but it's right here. We're sitting on a cushion. We can see the white wall in front of us or the floor in front of us. And so we leave that thought world and come back to right here and right now. And it's not that the thought world is a bad world. Looking into it, we can see that the thoughts produced by our brain are running on the same energy as the beating of our heart as we sit on the cushion, as the call of the bird that we might hear outside the window while we're doing zazen. It's all much of a muchness. It's running on the same energy the way the vacuum and the TV are quite different instruments, devices, but they run on the same energy. Of course, if you sit there watching the vacuum and thinking you're going to stream your favorite program, that's probably not a good idea. But unmistakably, they're running on the same energy. My life runs on the same energy as your life, as the life of a bird, as the life of a fish, as the life of the sun and the moon and the stars. And yet, we're all different. So just as it's possible to be intimate with our direct experience, the gum wrapper, boom, it's also possible to be intimate with our thoughts. And if we're too intimate with our thoughts, that's what we call attachment. In other words, by being intimate with the thought, we think that we are this thought stream. That's us. And we miss the larger picture of the way our life energy is the life energy of all beings, all creatures, both animate and inanimate. We miss the whole picture, and we create a self out of being too stickily intimate with our thoughts. And so in a way, we're engaged in the project of learning to be intimate with more than the thought stream, more than I and you, good and bad, right and wrong, but to be intimate with our entire life, not just our mental life, not just a life that makes judgments and has preferences and grabs after some things and tries to push other things away. Because whether we like what's going on or not, if really bad stuff is happening, it's running on the same universal energy as the stuff that we like. So the fact that things are going badly is not necessarily a sign that something is wrong. It's causes and conditions. And the fact that we're enjoying what's going on is not necessarily a sign that things are going right. It's causes and conditions. So the real question is, can we be there and respond appropriately without being overly attached to the categories that our head constantly wants to label the world with? So there's a koan that I think is about this, and I'll share it with you. It's a koan that seems to be about sickness, but actually I think ultimately it's about intimacy. And it goes like this. Guishan asked Dao Wu, where are you coming from? Dao Wu said, from tending the sick. And Guishan said, how many sick were there? Dao Wu said, well, there were the sick and there were the not sick. And Guishan said, Dao Wu, the one who is not sick, you? Wu said, being sick and not sick have nothing to do with it. Speak quickly, speak quickly. Guishan said, even if I could say anything, it would have no relation. I think the key to this koan is speak quickly, be intimate, pick up that gum wrapper. If you see a gum wrapper, speak quickly, be intimate with your life. And so Guishan said, well, even if I'd said something, it would just be putting this wild, unbounded life into categories. Wouldn't truly be it. One time, Guishan and Dao Wu were walking, and they saw a field fire, and Guishan said, "Do you see the fire?" Dao Wu said, "I see it." Guishan says, "Where does it come from?" Dao Wu said, "Ask me something that doesn't have anything to do with sitting, standing, lying down, or walking." Sitting, standing, lying down, and walking are the four dignities of a Buddha. They're the living manifestation of emptiness, of the field fire, of this burning world, or in the other koan, of this world of sickness. The pointer to that koan says, the whole body is sick. It'd be hard to cure Vimalakirti. Vimalakirti, if you might remember, manifested sickness because the whole world was sick, because the whole world was broken, because the whole world was empty. So our natural tendency when confronted with this field fire we call life, this field fire of constant change, constant brokenness, constant interaction and reaction, where this moment now has already gone, and now it's this moment now which is already gone. Or as I like to say, Buddha is always on the way to becoming Buddha and is never Buddha. This world of brokenness, of sickness, how do we respond? How do we speak? How do we be intimate rather than trying to put it in boxes and categories when what's called for is wholehearted response? I had another experience of intimacy years ago, I guess about 25 years ago, when two kind of tough things happened. One, Enkyo Roshi asked me to be Shuso, and at the same time, about the same time, I came down with multiple sclerosis. No relation between the two events. But I had no idea how I was going to do it. I didn't even know if I would be able to bow or to sit straight, or whether I had the stamina to give the talk. It was a horrible, horrible time in my life. And at that time, I had my office across the street from Grace Church. And, you know, it was not uncommon when I'd walk past the church on the way to work, you know, homeless people would be camped out on the steps. And so this time at a particular low point, I was walking by the church and I saw a homeless guy leaning with his back against the fence by the church. And something I'd seen many times before, but this time I just started bawling, just unstoppable sobs came up. And I emptied my wallet, maybe about 30 bucks in it, and I gave it to him, and then I went on my way. So of course our minds say, well, that's good. That was progress. You were intimate then and you weren't intimate before. But this is more of the same kind of thinking that gets us mucked up in the first place. Yes, I want to be the kind of person who is intimate and not the kind of person who is checked out and in his head and doesn't see what's in front of him. So how do I do that? Well, that's sort of using the problem to try to solve the problem. This is why Dogen Zenji uh, doesn't say we should practice in order to become intimate, or practice in order to become enlightened, or practice for any reason. He says we should practice the Buddha Dharma just for the sake of the Buddha Dharma. In other words, just be the field fire. Just be the sickness. Just be the brokenness. Don't fear it. Just go. Practice. 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 Be here. Be here. Respond. A lot of the times you'll just be responding like a robot, like we usually do. But more and more often, you'll find a place where you're able to do something different just because the moment is different, just because you are different and you've never been here before. And so it was with my cousin Stan, who, as I say, I'd never really had an exceptional word with or an exceptional moment with, except one. And that one was at my Aunt Ida's funeral over in Jersey. And, Ida, she was so old. She was over 100 when she passed. And so, a lot of us, the kids there were all in our late 60s, 70s. It was kind of funny. Anyway, I was standing by a tombstone, looking on at the little service that the rabbi was doing. And it was a very little service because Ida just absolutely hated anything to do with religion. And so the rabbi had to promise not to do any of the kooky, spooky stuff and just say a few straightforward words. Anyway, I was listening to the rabbi doing her best to work with what she had. And my cousin Stan came up beside me. And I said, "Oh, it's good to see you, Stan." Now, at that time, because of his illness, for the last 2 or 3 years, Stan was unable to talk. He had all his marbles and everything, but whatever that part of our brain is that allows us to form words had shorted out and wasn't working anymore. So I just said, "Good to see you, Stan." And of course, he looked a lot different too than when I had seen him last, because he didn't look like the insurance executive or the golfer who I was used to. He just basically let it all go. He really looked like a 78-year-old hippie. He had hair down to his shoulders, and he hadn't dressed up at all for the funeral. He'd just gone as what he was. And so I said, "It's good to see you, Stan." And I didn't expect a reply. And so he reached out his hand. I think, okay, we're going to shake hands. And I took his hand, and he didn't let it go. He just held on to my hand, and then I held on to his. And we stood like that, hand in hand, for 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. The rabbi went on 4 minutes. And finally, after all these many, many years, I became intimate with my cousin Stan. And I will always be grateful that I had that moment with him before he passed away. Intimacy is always available to us. It takes us by surprise. It takes us by surprise at moments when we're able to drop the preconceptions, drop the categories, drop the good and bad, and just be with this burning, broken life of universal sickness. That's kind of a sad way to put it. You could also as easily say this life of boundless freedom that all of us live as Buddhas and Bodhisattvas.